7:15 on this foggy Monday, and I've got a surprise for everybody. This came about like last minute. Oh, anyway, I did have a guest logged in for this because Nelda Speaks is calling in at 7:30, give us a house report.
Good.
But I text Richard Castor at the last minute, hey, come in at 7 o'clock, co-host with me. And Paul, how do you pronounce your name? Mittermeier? Mittermeier. And you're from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Correct.
Welcome to Arkansas.
Thank you. I've loved it so far.
Thank you for having us, Mr.
So, how's Richard Castor?
We're doing great. Just doing fantastic. Home for spring break, and it's so good to be here. The air just smells so much better than Michigan air because you don't have Detroit just polluting everything. So it's just wonderful here. And Paul is from a big city, so we went camping. Day before yesterday, we're like, let's just go camping. So a bunch of my cousins and I and Paul, and we just took 2 tarps and we built a fire out in the middle of the woods, but then it rained all night long. It just never stopped raining. So I don't know, just having the best time being back.
Well, it was my first time camping, so this was quite a surprise for me.
Really, if you camp somewhere around Memorial Day when it's warmer, go by a river, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we have a natural spring in our back, and it's just,
cool.
It was just, I've never seen it flow that hard before. It was beautiful.
So what's going on with Richard Castor?
Not much. Just trying to graduate from college, trying to get through life. Still doing Saturday mornings, 8 a.m., The View from Hillsdale radio show. And
we're going to record that here in about another hour. And, why don't you just come in and do the show?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for holding down the fort while I'm up north, too. I know the state legislature is kind of going crazy sometimes down there, but they're...
sometimes I wonder, what on earth are they thinking? So far we've battled Martin Luther King's birthday with Robert E. Lee's, and now they want to do something with daylight savings time. Come on, people.
They are doing one good thing, though.
But get a load of this.
Yeah.
I can get a ticket for not wearing my seatbelt.
Good.
But I put a child on a school bus, and you don't have to have a seatbelt. Welcome to Arkansas, Paul.
Sounds like big government is afoot.
And you don't need a helmet on your motorcycle either.
Oh.
But if I drive to Hardee's without my seatbelt, I can get a ticket.
It's amazing.
It's about the money.
This is how you get yourself in trouble, Mr. Dale.
Is that what's doing it?
No.
Then our education commissioner's never taught a day in his life.
Surprise.
Good old Johnny Key. God bless him. I don't know anymore. And then you have Hillary Clinton deleting 30,000 emails and saying we have no business reading them. And saying, we just have to trust her. They're personal
trust
emails.
Hillary Clinton?
Didn't you hear? She was just emailing Bill. But then a few days before she said that, Bill came out and said, I've never emailed a day in my life. I sent 2 emails while I was president. Besides that, I've never used email. And then Hillary said, don't worry about the 30,000. I was just emailing Bill. No, nothing makes sense anymore. Who and what are we to believe? I don't know. But it's fine. There is good news, though, with the state house voting to let us opt out of Common Core testing in our schools. Now it goes on to the state Senate. That's an incredibly important bill, so we'll have to thank Nelda for pushing that through when she's on with the program, because that is a wonderful thing. And so hopefully it'll pass the state Senate and the governor will sign it. That would be great.
Now, Paul, you know a lot about this I do not know anything about Common Core. I've heard bits and pieces back and forth. I've seen a few pieces of schoolwork, but my kids are all grown. They're out of school. I don't deal with it. And you're from Cincinnati, so you give us a total out of Arkansas perspective on Common Core.
Sure, yeah. Actually, one thing that I'm involved in Cincinnati and throughout Ohio is activism with our Cincinnati Tea Party, and then citizen lobbying with Ohioans against Common Core. And so I know I've talked about this on Richard's radio show a little bit, but Common Core, basically, it's a set of educational standards that was developed when lots of the states were trying to acquire waivers for the No Child Left Behind program, because in 2014 they set benchmarks that were way too high and all the states knew they would fail to meet them. And so they all sought waivers, and Arnie Duncan with the Department of Education basically said, you can have your waiver, but you have to adopt this framework, these Common Core standards in its place. And so there were 4 main requirements in order to attain Race to the Top money. And the 4 requirements were national standards, testing that is associated with those standards, federally mandated teacher evaluations, and longitudinal data systems to collect all of the data from this. And that's basically Common Core. If you read through the standards, that's what it is. And so all of the states, in order to get Race to the Top money, adopted this. And since then, we've come to find out, reading the standards, that they are developmentally inappropriate. They are awful for children. They have an emphasis on like didactic lecturing and instruction for very young children. And they're supposed to primarily be in math and English language arts. That's what the standards are in. But they have affiliated standards through like next generation programs with science and with social studies. Funny also that one of the co-authors of the standards, whose name is David Coleman, also became head of the College Board and has now aligned the SAT and AP tests and AP programs that are not math and English language arts.
Like, what's the AP?
Advanced placement. So
Yeah, okay.
in high school, like if your child does like AP U.S. history or something like that, that's now Common Core aligned, not necessarily bearing the trademark or the logo, but it's the same sort of standards. So now we have testing on steroids with, I know here in Arkansas you guys have the PARC tests, which are the same ones, the same consortium that we also have in Ohio, as opposed to some states have the Smarter Balance testing consortium. And so these are responsible for doing the testing that's affiliated with Common Core. But the testing is so frequent and it is so developmentally inappropriate and does not measure information that's really relevant for students at that level, that really these
Is
tests...
it overkill?
Yeah, it's in terms of frequency, how often they test. It is such overkill. In Florida, they've estimated that that some districts will test 1 in 3 days. So if you can imagine the stress of your child taking something like the SAT or the ACT.
I remember testing in school.
Yeah.
I did elementary school and junior high school in Southern Illinois, just outside of St. Louis. I was not a good test taker.
Right.
I could do all the homework, but that for some reason froze up on the test.
And that's the real problem with this is so the word education it comes from a Greek word, which means to draw out. So when we're educating our children, it's to build them up, to make them the human and the person that God created them to be, right? It's not supposed to be just a cookie cutter. Everyone across the nation needs to learn this, this, and this. They should be able to excel in something. If someone loves history more than science, the teacher should be able to see that and let that child emphasize in this. Let them become an expert in some field. Let them love learning. But Common Core takes that all away.
Okay, let me see if I'm understanding. Okay, let's say that that you know me and my sound system stuff. So
Sure.
I like that. I like that realm of science. So if I were to excel in that in school, but what if my grades in history and math and English were dropping below a federal standard? Don't they want to maintain a certain status quo of what should be required of me? But if I'm excelling somewhere else, you see what I'm trying to say?
It's true, but the problem
I think
is
we
that
need
this,
standards.
We do, but the problem is that this handcuffs the teachers. It only allows them to teach certain things. It only allows them to work a certain way. If things aren't taught
Well, let
in
the
a
teachers
certain
teach.
manner, right? Let them teach.
Because if we're requiring our teachers. Our teachers are more educated than the Commissioner of Education.
No, our teachers are great. That's why if you go and talk
Let
to
them
them,
teach. They got the degrees. Some
Yeah.
of them have master's degrees.
and when you're with
class.
that kid every day, you're going to know how that kid's supposed to learn, how that kid can learn. It's not the same for everyone. I'm terrible at memorization in my Spanish class up at Hillsdale, just dreadful at it. But my teacher can take the time and teach me a certain way and teach me a different way in what she teaches someone else. But under Common Core standards, that's not the way.
Well,
everyone has to be taught.
Are we herding cattle through the gate real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I think one of the things you'll find out about Common Core first and foremost is that it's not about education at all, and it's not about raising the bar or raising standards. It's about control, control, control. It's nothing but government overreach and subversion of local control. And it's really a culture of punishment through increased testing, not only punishment of the students, but punishment of the teachers, because part of this overhaul, part of Common Core, are federally mandated teacher evaluations. And so all of the teachers throughout all of the states that have adopted Common Core will be evaluated most heavily by the test scores of their students on these Common Core aligned tests. And so that gives the districts a bad report card, that gives the teachers a bad report card, that lets them be subject to firing and to layoffs. Then it gives students a bad report. It just hurts everybody, and it takes the parents out of the equation so that parents are no longer the primary educators of their children.
I believe that we have some very intelligent teachers, administrators, and I trust these people with my kids.
Yeah.
I don't need Washington, D.C. or Little Rock, Arkansas or Jefferson City, Missouri telling me what needs to be done.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know.
Because who's going to know best? The teacher in the classroom
Exactly.
with the kids?
That's why they've got the education. Let them teach.
Right.
Right.
You can't
Let
say...
them evaluate their own students. If they need help, go to the counselor, go to the principal, go to the upper administration.
The kids in Wisconsin are going to need a different program than the kids in Arkansas. Just like the kids in Florida or Alabama are going to need a different program. Kids are different.
Yeah.
We're individuals. That's what makes us special. We're spiritual beings. We're created by God in a special way. We're not this just little machine that the federal government can mold. And that's the basis that Common Core comes from. And it's just terrible.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, let's take another minute and just what else is on your mind? Just good to be home.
Oh, it's so good to be home. Good to be with family. This community is just great. We were at Bamboo Gardens the other night, and people were coming up saying, "Oh, hey, how are you doing?" And Paul's like, "It's so amazing. Everyone knows each other here."
Yeah.
But that's what's great about Mountain Home is, we see each other down the street, we say hi, we wave, and people always have a smile on their face. I think we take it for granted being here all the time. But when you go to a place in the north where people aren't so nice all the time, and you come back down to a small town in the south with some good fried chicken, you're just a happy man, Mr. Dale.
Yeah. Especially with the snow melts.
Yes. Oh, we were so happy there was no snow. Oh my gosh, the snow in Michigan is just...
We've had a pretty good winter. January was really good to us. February, well, I was happy to rip February off the calendar.
Yes.
Anyway, coming up on 7:27, anticipating a call. Nelda Speaks, due to call in at 7:30. Going to go ahead and take the news break. We'll be right back. 7:35, joining us by telephone, our state representative, District 100, Nelda Speaks. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Dale.
Well, it's good to hear from you. And Richard Castor's here, and he brought a friend in from Cincinnati, Ohio, so we're kind of teaching him some Arkansas stuff. So, and some of this crazy stuff. I told him some.
Wish I was there to help y'all.
We wish so too, Miss Nelda. It's good to hear from you.
I want to get my opinion in real quick. I think that some of these crazy, what I call crazy bills, I'm reading that they're actually wanting to do away with or do something with daylight savings time. I think that's ridiculous. And then this Nate Bill stuff coming out about separating Martin Luther King birthday from Robert E. Lee's. Don't we have more important things to deal with?
That's the problem. That it seems like Friday or Monday at 4:30 was the end that they could file bills. My understanding is it was somewhere between 400 and 600 bills got filed, and this is ridiculous. We've got people hurting out here. We're wanting to build, trying to get jobs going, and then all of this crazy stuff that gets filed that don't amount to anything.
Do you see that, since you're new in the state legislature, do you see that as being a problem, how many bills are filed every session? Or is it a necessary evil that we have?
I believe that, I don't know if it's they want to get their name on a bill or what it is, but there is so many bills that's filed and if you look, I started looking at some that was filed Monday, and they could have combined a lot of these things. There are a lot of good things that are being passed, but I do believe there's too many bills filed. I honestly do.
Where are we at on this PARCC, P-A-R-C-C test? I think I heard that it was pretty well defeated in the House. I think there was one vote for it, and I forget what the vote was, but was that defeated? I mean, isn't this the last year for PARCC test if it goes to the Senate?
Yes, it was. It was to defeat the schools having the PARCC test, and I voted for that. I believe that it is one thing that we can stop, and one of the main things with Common Core. Our governor's formed a task force to look at Common Core, but when we pass this, I know the ones that was so against it. I know parents that was against the PARCC test. And so I felt that was a good deal.
Okay.
We thank you for that too. But
You bet.
that was a huge thing. I was up in Michigan. I was like, oh my gosh, they passed it. I'm so proud.
Right. You
It
know, we
was
couldn't
great.
get it stopped this year, but it
Yeah.
will, you know, from here on out, that'll be the end of it.
Now,
It's gonna-
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
With the governor putting this task force together to study Common Core issues, what's going to happen with the Education Commissioner of Johnny Key if appointed by the Senate, if approved by the Senate and the House, because he is for Common Core? So is there going to be some friction here between the governor's coalition and the Commissioner of Education?
You know, I'm really not sure how that's going to play out. I think once they get through, of course, legislators can come back and pass a law and take care of that, but they couldn't do anything this year due to the fact that he had formed that task force. So I guess it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out in 2 years.
Do we know yet who's going to serve on the task force? I know it's chaired by the lieutenant governor.
I have not heard.
Okay.
I know
I don't
some
think
of
they've been
them.
announced yet, have they?
Oh, I guess not.
I'm not sure. So Tim Griffin's going to chair that?
Yeah, if I heard the news
Yes,
release
he
correctly.
is. Hmm.
And Tim's a great guy, so that
He
that should
really
go well.
is, and he is a conservative man. I just appreciate him so much.
I have to appreciate him because when we went to the Republican National Convention, he gave my mom and I two tickets to see Journey in concert just for fun. And so
Good.
I'll always love him for that.
Yeah, yeah, he's a great man.
He is.
Wow. Go ahead.
Now,
yeah.
I have a question I'd like to throw out because this is something that we've been facing in Ohio, is that our Department of Education has been heavily involved in intimidating parents who are trying to fight back against Common Core and the rollout of the PARC tests, because we also have the PARC in Ohio. And one of the things that we've seen that is just prominent in Ohio is the opt-out movement. And all of these parents, in the 50 and 60% of some districts estimated, are opting their children out of these tests in order to fight back. And yet the Department of Education in Ohio has been intimidating all of these parents and telling them there is no law that allows you to do that. And of course, our response in Ohioans Against Common Core and in the Tea Party has been, well, show us a law that prohibits it. We don't live in a dictatorship where the laws allow us to do basic things, everyday things. Do you know how involved your Department of Education has been in pushing this, or what their response has been to parents who are opting out? And what have you been advising those parents, if any, have contacted you?
I have not heard anything like that. If the education has tried to fight against it or intimidate parents, I've never heard that. No one has ever contacted me at all. And I don't believe that the legislators would stand for that.
That's good.
I think that Arkansas would handle it totally different than a northern state, not just counting Ohio. But,
very true.
But
I do too. I think, because when we passed that, we even had the Democrats that helped the Republicans get that passed.
It's so bad in Ohio that they're just trying to get kids to take these tests because everyone's opting out, that they're now giving gift cards to Burger King, McDonald's
To take the PARC test?
To take the PARC test.
Oh, let's bribe the
paid
kids
for
now.
by the tax dollars.
That's
It's
the
amazing.
newest low, as they have been bribing them with their choice of gift cards to any number of businesses.
That's kind of ridiculous.
so Nelda, wouldn't this be an example of the people doing the leadership role rather than the government? And I'm please don't misunderstand what I'm trying to do to the state of Ohio, but the people
Please, go ahead.
The people are standing up, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it is.
Right.
And John Kasich, our governor, of course, has 2016 aspirations, and that's part of the reason why he set himself aside as the pro-Common Core Republican. And he has just marginalized us and wanted to act like we don't exist. And to the thousands and thousands of parents throughout Ohio who are standing up and opposing Common Core and opposing these tests, he's said first that we don't exist, and then he's called us hysterics, and now he's said that we're nothing but a runaway internet campaign. And so it's just the
Follow
ruling
the money.
class. Yep,
Follow-
exactly.
What
That's
other bills,
sad.
Nelda, have you been working on that you want to let the people know about?
The three bills that, in fact, when I went down, I am so against so many bills being filed and just silly things that's being filed and put out here and using up tax dollars to do that. So I did not have any intentions of doing any bills unless something came up. But the Association of Arkansas Counties came to me and asked if I would take the 3 bills that the county treasurer was wanting done. And so these are not new bills. All we done was went in and amended those, and I did take those. We only have one left. That 2 of them have become law, and the other one is in the Senate. I believe will be acted on today. But it had to do with the game and fish, and that's the one that's that we've already got done. Game and Fish, when they do a fine here in any district, that money comes back and can be used through the schools or conservation districts to educate the children on how to go about hunting, fishing, hooked on fishing instead of drugs, that kind of things. And so by the time that money would come back into the county, it was in January. So the schools were at a disadvantage to get those into their programs. So now, when we started this, Game and Fish came in, and they had some things they wanted to do. So they will do it as a grant in the schools and conservation districts will file for these grants. And that same money is going to come back in to the schools and let them have time to put those programs in. One of the other one that it has become law has to do with the fire departments. It's at Act 833. We'd always just took that money, and as soon as the checks would come in, the treasurer would just do a treasure check and disperse that money right back out to the fire departments. Well, then the Attorney General got involved a couple of years ago, and they said, you can't do that. It's going to have to go through your budget, and it has to do all that. Well, we did get that changed to where the treasurers can do their treasure check and get it right back out, because fire departments are needing their money.
Yeah.
And so I felt that those were good bills, and actually feel very good at that, was able to get all of that through the House without any problems whatsoever. But those were the 3 that I've worked on.
You know, those are good bills that help serve the people.
Well, it's great that we have a representative like Mrs. Speaks who's
Unlike some of these
done that.
crazy things that change in daylight savings time.
Yeah, and it's great that we have an expert down there. Thank you, Mrs. Speaks.
I'm against that. And number one, you've got children out here getting on the buses, and they don't need in the wintertime, which right now I'm sure they're getting on at dark when we go on daylight saving time. But you take back in the 1st of January or December, look how early that's going to be for these children.
Good point.
I like changing the clocks. They don't bother me. And people on Facebook are making it sound like, oh, it's such a job to change a clock. And the 2 things, it's such an effort to change my clock, and I don't get to sleep as much. That's the 2 things that I've heard. I mean, come on, people. And they want to do this in the state of.
Yeah.
Your final thoughts. We're running out of time. You're about 30 seconds on your final thoughts, Nelda.
Well, I just wanted to say I signed off on several good bills, on abortion bills. There's been some good bills out there on that, and I've co-signed off on that. I've co-signed off on our right to protect our people with gun laws.
Yep.
And so there's been a lot of good things that's happened, and I'm anxious to get through. It's been a pleasure to serve down here and serve the people. I pray a lot before I make a vote and ask for wisdom from the Lord, and it's been great. And And I'm just so thankful that they give me this opportunity.
We're thrilled to have you down there, Nelda. Thank you for calling in today. We need to go to break, and I'll be in contact with you later on throughout the session. Maybe do this again sometime.
Thank you so much, and enjoyed getting to talk to Richard.
Thank you, Ms. Speaks. Good to hear from you.
Thank you, Nelda.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Time for the Sean Hannity Daily Update. Be right back. 7:52. Still foggy out there, folks. Drive careful. Headlights on.
It was tough driving in.
It was.
I couldn't
It was.
see anything for a little while.
By the time I got to about Cumberland Presbyterian Church on 5 South, you could not see the Easy Mart at Cardinal. Normally that light is just very brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
And
drive safe.
but it was, you couldn't see it at all. So, wow. Some of those bills that Nelda's talked about.
We were talking earlier, the way the state legislature works is they could go through, on average, 200 to 300 bills every single day. They're not reading those. There's no way you could possibly read or know what's in all of those. So what they do is they stand in the front from the speaker's chair and they say, is this bill controversial? If 4 representatives don't raise their hands, it just passes. And
then goes on to the Senate.
It goes on to the Senate then. It's insane. And then they're changing this now under the Republican leadership. But back in the day when it was just all Democrats, to get it past committee, there was no record of who voted yes or no. It was all done by voice votes.
Oh.
I mean, this down in Little Rock, it is just a culture of corruption. So praise the Lord, we have people like Nelda Speaks down there actually speaking the truth on these things, telling these guys, don't file so many waste of time bills. It is my mission in life before I turn 40 to have a constitutional amendment in Arkansas that says each state legislature can only file 3 bills every session. That'd be so great. And then they could read them all. They could know what they say. We could know what they say.
But they do. Do you think they do it purposely to shove some of these laws past us real quick so we don't pay attention?
Sometimes, absolutely. I mean, we saw that with the private option. That's what they tried to do. But I think a lot of this it's a lot of pet projects. It's a lot of big government idealism. The government can solve all of our problems. If we just file enough bills, then everything will be okay. I mean, that's not the way America works. The more the state legislature meets, the more bills they pass, the less freedom we have. I mean, that's what we've always believed in America. We don't need 300 bills in Arkansas. We're doing pretty well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm a happy man, Mr. Dale. I don't need a state senator telling me to take a bath in the morning. We don't need this much government.
That tells you what test your child needs to take in school.
For heaven's sake,
let the teacher decide.
Amen. Amen. This is just,
and I'm just
ridiculous.
livid over the fact that we're changing the law that the education commissioner has never taught in the classroom. They're even disqualifying the fact that you need a state teacher's license, a certificate. You don't even have to have a certificate to be the education commissioner in Arkansas.
Heaven's sakes. You know,
it's like we're trying to run the FCC because I do this in Mountain Home, Arkansas. It's ludicrous. I don't qualify for that. You know, it's stupid.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I love Johnny Key personally. God bless him. But
great man. He's probably the best non-qualified person to run it. But when you change the law to meet somebody instead of somebody increasing their education to meet the law, it's stupid.
It is. Why doesn't my gosh?
Welcome
I don't know.
to Arkansas.
We need an education system that builds people up. We need
teaches the children.
That teaches them what it means to be a human. You know what I mean? What it means to know what you're supposed to be in life, how you're supposed to love God, how you're supposed to, find the higher things.
Let the teachers do their job.
They can do that. The teachers can do that. And we have wonderful.
What to do.
Absolutely.
Or DC. Anyway,
Absolutely.
10 seconds. Final thoughts, guys.
Oh, great to be back home.
Good to have you guys.
I love Arkansas. I'm loving my trip. It just surprises me that you guys have armadillos here. I've never seen an armadillo except in a zoo, and now I see them in the wild. And there are these wolf spiders while we're camping. This is crazy.
Wait till the tarantulas come out.
Thanks for having us, Dale.
Thanks for joining us today. Time for Rush Morning Update, followed by Glenn Beck. See you tomorrow.